So, like I said, we've already had big things happen this week. Okay, at the beginning of the week, we had Saturn progress back into Pisces. Okay, so we've had Saturn in Aries for well, since May, right? That's when Saturn went into Aries, and we've gotten a pretty strong preview about that Saturn in Aries energy, right? The most obvious thing, and I talked about this in my presentation I did about Saturn going into Aries, military. Saturn in Aries is heavy on the military theme. Which is it's well, it's right. It's not fun to go through, but the good thing is Saturn, doesn't hang out in a sign for like, right, 8 years, 14 years, like some of these other planets. At least we know in 2 to 3 years, we're going to be moving on from that Saturn and Aries energy. But yeah, the Saturn and Aries energy, a lot of military stuff, a lot of war stuff. And obviously, here in the United States, we've seen it with deployments of, right, National Guard being sent to, right, Los Angeles and, all of these horrible ICE raids, right? But this like military stuff. So it is my hope that with Saturn now kind of being like, okay, I've been doing my Aries thing, but now I'm going to go back into Pisces. I'm hoping for the next few months, we get a break from that. And whatever all of that heavy military stuff is that's been trying to, dominate, has some pushback or has some obstacles or just isn't able to fully accomplish whatever, those plans are. So Saturn going back into Pisces, where it will be through, I think through February. Yeah, so through February 13th, okay, of next year, we're still going to have Saturn in Pisces. Okay, so, but now this little window where, yes, it's retrograde, okay, it's Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So a lot of us are going to be asked to revisit whatever things we were dealing with, right, the last 2 years when Saturn was in Pisces. Whatever things were coming up for you during that time, this is kind of like your last chance or tying up those loose ends. What was that Saturn and Pisces journey for you? What were you having to look at more realistically, right? Because that's Saturn and Pisces is like, right, sober. And I don't mean like literally like no alcohol, but just like sober in general. Like, what does your life look like without the distractions? Right? Without the rose-colored glasses. Like, what is the reality of your current situation? You cannot avoid it. You cannot escape from it. You've got to deal with it. And depending on where, right, these last few degrees of Pisces are in your personal chart, it's probably going to have to do with those things, right? So if you're a Saturn, if you're a seventh house is ruled by Pisces, right? And Saturn's going back in there, you're probably going to be dealing with some relationship stuff, right? And you probably have been dealing with relationship stuff. If, Pisces is in your third house, right? Stuff about communication. You're going to have to revisit that. How clear are you being with your communication? How strong is your communication? What are you not saying that needs to be said, right? So if you have your chart, just go and check where is that Pisces in your chart because Saturn's going to go back in there. And, you might have to be looking at some things very clearly and tying up those loose ends of this Saturn and Pisces, journey. It's also about too, like boundaries. Saturn and Pisces, right? Saturn needs boundaries. Pisces doesn't like boundaries. So when Saturn's here, it's like, okay, Pisces, we got to set boundaries. So also where in your life do you need to set stronger boundaries? Okay, that's what we're going to be focusing on for, yeah, the next few months. Okay, and then of course, right, it's right before Valentine's Day when Saturn's going to go back into Aries. So boop, don't want to look that far ahead yet. Okay, good. So that happened. That was September 1st. Okay. But then we also had Mercury. Okay, Mercury also went into Virgo on the 2nd, and you can see he's already at 8 degrees. So he's whipping through Virgo really quickly. He will only be there until September 18th. Okay, so we have about 2 weeks. And the first week we've already kind of gone through. So we've got about a week left of Mercury in Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. Okay, so he's very happy to be here. This is one of his homes. Okay, so Mercury in Virgo, really good for, right, getting organized, getting your lists together, taking care of whatever that super tedious paperwork is, right? Also focusing on skills. You know, Virgo also rules like specific skills. So if there's something you've been wanting to get better at, something that's very specific, right? Like mastering, you know, a certain recipe or just getting really good at something that you want to improve. Mercury in Virgo is really good for that. Also, you know, just decluttering. And that's just right, Virgo in general, right? Is like declutter. What is not necessary? What is not essential to my life? Let's weed it out. Let's get rid of it. Also good for, yeah, just any kind of, right, analytical work, admin work. If you've got to go through, you know, like any numbers or things like that, Mercury in Virgo is really good for that. It's really good for any, right, mental pursuits, obviously. And it helps us to also notice more details, right? Virgo, very detail oriented. So we're really able to take everything in right now, to see every little thing that we're being presented. Okay, and then on September 3rd, okay, we had the Mercury-Uranus square. Okay, which we know squares, right? Ugh, squares are a lot. It's conflicting energy. It's two planets that are just butting heads, not getting along. And, you know, when I was writing the monthly forecast, I kind of focused more on the intellectual aspect of these two planets, right? Uranus in Gemini, which is also the sign of Mercury as well. Gemini and Virgo, both very mental signs, both, you know, have to do with communication and the facts. So I kind of thought this day, yeah, it's going to be like hard to focus. We're going to be like thinking a lot. We could even have like some mental breakthroughs. That was also a possibility. But I also forget, well, I don't forget, but I just didn't zero in on it, that Mercury and Gemini both rule transportation. Okay, they rule transportation. So like everything from like getting from point A to point B, right? That includes vehicles to do that, planes, trains, cars, right? So what did we have happen when Mercury squared Uranus? We had this horrible accident in Lisbon, right? The train that went, you know, that collapsed and it was just terrible. People died. But yeah, that was a pretty strong manifestation of this Mercury square Uranus, right? It was sudden, it was fast, square, like, you know, not good, not good. But that, yeah, double whammy with Mercury transportation and Uranus and Gemini transportation. So that obviously was an unfortunate manifestation of that transit. And then the day after that, September 4th, we had this Jupiter-Mars square. So it's not often we get two intense squares back to back. That's why I knew this week was just going to be crazy. Plus, we're building up to an eclipse, and that's also intense energy. So this Mars square Jupiter, again, another square, right? So conflict, intensity. What is Jupiter? Jupiter is the expander, right? Big. Go big with it. Take it as far as you can. Push the limits. Mars, right? Even though it's in Libra, Mars still represents, right? Aggression, anger, violence, right? Attacks. So again, another unfortunate manifestation of this transit, we had a mass stabbing in Canada. Okay, terrible, obviously. But yeah, Jupiter, mass, big, many, several. And Mars can also, that's why he has a little point, right? Can literally be a weapon. So that day, yeah, I cautioned people to like be careful. Like, this is a day you could also have an accident, right? You bump into something, you hurt yourself, which I actually was a victim of that situation. Wasn't paying attention to my own chart where it was my Mars return. I was born with Mars at 18 degrees of Libra. So this Jupiter Mars square happened right on my Mars. And yes, I stubbed my toe and it was not good. It really hurt. So yeah, that energy, and it's still lingering, you guys, it's still lingering. So again, throughout the weekend, even early next week, just be very cautious. Okay. Don't rush to do things. Be aware of your surroundings, right? Don't do any crazy daredevil things. Okay. And then yesterday, I'm like, we're not even through the first week, and I'm already so tired of this astrology because it's so crazy. Uranus stationed retrograde. Our first retrograde of Uranus in Gemini. Remember, this is brand new energy. We've only had Uranus in Gemini for a couple months, right? Because he's been in Taurus for the last 7 years. So this is the first retrograde station of this Uranus and Gemini transit. Just happened yesterday. And Uranus will be retrograde in Gemini through November 8th. Okay, so now through November 8th, we're really going to feel this Uranus in Gemini. And then Uranus is going to go back into Taurus for a little bit. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But Uranus retrograde in Gemini is going to be about reviewing, right? Reviewing these Gemini things. Again, communication, transportation, even things having to do with siblings or neighbors, because it's retrograde. And I'm actually curious, and I really hope this isn't what ends up happening. But Uranus is kind of like a higher octave of Mercury in a lot of ways, because Uranus is also, it's very intellectual. It's a very mental kind of planet. It rules science and engineering and these kinds of things. So Uranus in Gemini could be like Mercury retrograde, but like times 10. I hope it's not that, but that could be a little bit of what this is going to be. So again, I would really encourage people, right? Kind of like what we have to do Mercury retrograde, right? Make sure you've got a backup plan for travel stuff. Make sure you're backing up your files. Make sure you're, reading things thoroughly. Make sure you're reading messages thoroughly before you send it. Make sure you're sending it to the right person. Communication mishaps. All of that going to be very likely again with Uranus retrograde in Gemini. Okay, and remember, when planets go retrograde, they're kind of also they can do more internal work, okay, as opposed to external. So yeah, internally in our own personal lives, yeah, how is my communication? What changes can I be making to how I'm communicating? Or even what new habits can I, set with communication? Maybe I do want to be writing more, or I want to be making more time for conversations with my friends. I should really, call so-and-so. I haven't talked to them in a while, right? Those kinds of things. And also, collectively, when planets go retrograde, right, their energy isn't as potent or as functional, right? So Uranus usually, right, like our planet of change, it's the planet that comes in and like, oops, you got to fix this, and I'm going to make it happen really fast, and you're going to have to adapt. So with Uranus going retrograde, the ability to change isn't going to happen as quickly. It might be where we have some struggles, or even just, with bigger things like some business wants to change their logo. They're going to have a harder time making that change with Uranus retrograde, because that ability to change things quickly is getting, right, kind of slowed down, kind of stuck. Okay. So also, we can look at what house, right, in your own charts. Where is the beginning of Gemini? Where are the last degrees of Taurus, right? What house is that for you? Because that could be too an area where you're doing some reviewing. Could also be doing reviewing of changes that you've already made. Maybe you made some big changes earlier this year. Now for the next couple months, you're going to go back and review those changes. How are they working? Do they need to be adjusted in any way? Okay, and this is going to bring us to our eclipse tomorrow, which is going to be at 11:09. Okay, 11:09 tomorrow, September 7th, is the exact moment of the eclipse. And for most of us, we're not going to be able to see it. This is only going to be visible for the Pacific Ocean, like, well, some of Alaska, some of Hawaii, but overall, like Asia, Russia, those areas, they're going to be the countries that are going to visibly see this eclipse. But the lunar eclipse, right? This is when the sun, Earth, and the moon all line up, and the Earth's shadow is projected onto the moon. So the moon looks, when you can see it, it looks, right, orangey, dark, kind of brownish red, because that's the Earth's shadow being projected. So yes, lunar eclipses, very associated with, right, like kind of ominous things, because you can imagine thousands of years ago, not really knowing why is the moon that color, it would be very creepy. It would kind of make you think, ooh, like, is something bad going to happen? And no, doesn't mean bad things are going to happen, but it does signify change. Something different is coming, and also something is ending. Okay, lunar eclipses are profound endings. Okay, and yes, historically, they are associated with things like, leadership changes. It used to be like an emperor would die, or, something like that, or we're going to go, have to switch out these leaders, or we have to reorganize our government in some way. But usually, like, so around that time, we can see things, happening with leadership globally, happening with heads of state, happening with monarchies. Okay, these kinds of things are a theme of lunar eclipses. But to get more specific, okay, this is happening. It's going to be the moon in Pisces, okay, sun in Virgo, moon in Pisces, 15 degrees. Okay, so if you are someone who's got anything around 15 degrees, right, of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, okay, are mutable signs, you're going to feel this eclipse the most intensely. And you are more likely to experience, right, some kind of maybe big change in your life. But for all of us too, we can look at, again, what house, and we want to look at the moon. What house do I have 15 degrees of Pisces? Because that could be, oh, okay, that's where maybe I'm going to have something come to completion. I'm going to be releasing something, or I'm just going to be experiencing a change in some way, for whatever that house is with this moon here. And, Pisces too, I kind of just wrote out words that just are even literally just the literal association of Pisces, right? Water, oceans, fish, literally, right? Pisces is the two fish. And I'm just saying these keywords sort of more for us to be paying attention to on the bigger scale, right? Like news stories that come out, things having to do with water or the ocean could very much be likely, some kind of, storm that's like water heavy, is possible. Pisces is also, it's very mysterious, right? And it's kind of, it can be secretive too. So this could be a time maybe secrets get exposed on some level. It's about dreams, symbols, hospitals, institutions. Also, though, like art and music. Maybe we're gonna, find something out, maybe that's positive, some art project or some music that's gonna be coming out. I don't know. But these are all Pisces things, so they are all in the realm, right, of what we could be seeing shifting on the bigger scale. Also, right, Pisces, very intuitive. So don't be surprised if you're just really sensitive. I'm sure some of you are already feeling that sensitivity. But especially tomorrow, you might be really sensitive. Things might affect you very deeply. You might just get like gut feelings about something. Pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to symbols. If you're like a person who pays attention to numbers or whatever it is, but like pay attention to those things, because this Pisces eclipse could deliver some messages for you that you get to kind of decipher, because it's going to be symbolic. It's not going to be a literal message. It's going to be something for you to decode. Pisces loves to do that. It's like, I'm not going to give you the obvious message. I'm going to give you a representation of the message and you can go figure it out. But yeah, and eclipses too. If you have felt tired, if you've had a hard time sleeping this week, very normal. It's big energy. And I 100% believe that us humans on Earth do feel that. It's 3 planets, right? All lining up. And there's gravity involved in that. There are magnetic fields involved with that. So yeah, just feeling like pressure, even though it's not literal pressure, yeah, you can be feeling that. It's energy. So yeah, try, rest if you can this weekend. If you need to take a rest, take a rest. It's okay. Don't push yourself. Get enough water, right? All these things that we can just do. Prioritize your self-care. There we go. That's the best way to say it. And let's see. Oh, also, for those of you who don't follow me on social media, I did make a video this week because I realized that someone has 15 degrees Pisces very prominent in their chart, and that is the chart of Jeffrey Epstein. He has a Mars-Venus conjunction in the sign of Pisces at 15 and 16 degrees. What did we have happen at the beginning of the week? The Epstein survivors held a press conference, okay? Telling their stories, announcing they would be making their own list. This story is not going away, okay? And right, and the fact that that's happening the same week as this eclipse in Pisces, it's highlighting that part of Epstein's chart, which also, by the way, case studies, research I've done, there are a lot of men who have the Mars-Venus conjunction and they are predators, okay? There's something about that aspect in male charts that it kind of makes you, one way to just say it, obsessed with sex. Like you're just very like obsessed with that, and a lot of energy goes into that, but a lot of times it's done very inappropriately. Okay. So just an astrology fact. And some women are like, what about my chart? In women's charts, it's different. Venus Mars conjunctions in women's charts is more about charisma. It actually makes them like people are very attracted to them. They're not necessarily seeking out, that kind of attention, but it gets pulled to them. But anyway, just again, astrology, right? It's all connected. Like it's not a coincidence that the Epstein files, that whole thing is being revived during this eclipse. And hopefully it means we're going to get more information, right? We're going to get more revelations about that. And ideally, we're going to get justice, right, around that. So that will be something we can continue to watch. Does anyone have any questions about this first eclipse? Okay. And yeah, and if also, right, if you are a Virgo or you are a Pisces, yeah, especially this just is especially strong energy for you this month. So just remember that again, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. And yeah, and for those of us who this eclipses do impact us, right? The thing does happen, the thing does come to an end, or we do have a big change. It's all meant to be, okay? It's all part of the plan. Because things that happen that are triggered by eclipses are also very fated and very destined, okay? Because they have to do with the nodes, right? And the nodes are about fate and destiny. So whatever happens, just know it's a part of your plan. And it's nothing to fear. It is nothing that you can't handle, okay? And the more you embrace whatever it is, whatever gift, right, the eclipse brings you, embrace it and be like, thank you, because obviously this is a big part of my story and it needed to happen. Okay. And also, like, doing a nice meditation tomorrow might be good too, might be something some of you are drawn to. But I don't ever recommend like actual rituals, okay, during eclipses, because they're just so heavy and powerful. You really just let them do their thing. All you have to do is be present. But like if you want to do a meditation or something to calm you down, to help you relieve something, that's okay. That's absolutely fine. But don't feel like, oh, what big thing do I have to do for this eclipse? Do I have to go burn something? Or no, you don't have to do anything. The eclipse will do whatever it needs to do for you. Okay, so moving on to the 13th. Okay, on the 13th, we are going to have our, or wait, hold on. Did I skip anything? Nope, sorry, skipped a day. Around the 10th and 11th, okay, we're going to have first the sun, okay, sun in Virgo is going to make an exact conjunction to the moon's south node. Okay, whenever the nodes are triggered, if you've been coming to these lives, right, for the last couple of months, you know I've been spending more time talking about what happens when the nodes get triggered, right? Whenever a planet is making, it's usually a square or a conjunction, okay? Those are the two biggest ones. These points are very sensitive, okay? They get triggered. So already with the eclipse, these are activated, but then the sun coming exactly in line with the south node could be a time of feeling more of this Virgo energy, right? Like leaning into criticism, leaning into perfectionism, okay? But ultimately, we actually want to release those tendencies. That's what the south node, right? Same thing in our own charts. Wherever that south node is, it's actually what we want to be releasing, what we want to be letting go of. Oh, and another thing that has been happening in the news that is, unfortunately, is pretty spot on with south node in Virgo. Virgo also rules, right? Health, illness, healthcare, medicine. And what has been the big thing this week? They want to get rid of vaccines. The state of Florida has already announced they're getting rid of vaccine mandates, which is actually not funny. It's terrifying. It's insane. But that's very south node in Virgo. like letting go of health stuff, health stuff, like going down the drain. So I'm looking forward to maybe when the nodes next year move into Aquarius and Leo, that we get a restoration of healthcare things. Because right now it's like these things are being taken away related to healthcare. Very bizarre, but it's part of Virgo. So yeah, around the 10th, something we could get another news story about vaccines or healthcare or something going on with that. Sometimes too can trigger, right, like climate things, environmental disasters, hoping it's not that. Earthquakes, but that can be a common theme when these nodes get triggered. And then very shortly after that, we're going to have, around the 11th, probably later in the day on the 11th is when Mercury, okay, Mercury is also going to pass by the South Node. So again, could be something having to do with communication, but like extra critical, because the South Node kind of also pulls out like those shadow tendencies of the sign, right? So like very critical, judgmental, that perfectionism of Virgo, also like extreme like ideals of purity, of purification. So stories around those themes could also come out during this time. Also like agriculture or like produce, very literal, but right, Virgo also has to do with like the harvest, right? Because this is the time of year that like we're harvesting all our vegetables and everything we planted during the summer is like really like at its peak. So I don't know, could be a story that comes out like we had to recall all of these potatoes because they were rotten, something like that. Just an example. So yeah, I'll be curious to see. I mean, this might all get swept up in whatever eclipse stuff happens, but we could also have some separate specific stories or information that gets revealed specifically around these dates. Okay, and then that's just going to bring us to our, excuse me, on the 13th, okay, our cazimi, Mercury cazimi. Cazimi means heart of the sun, okay? So Mercury is going to pass right through the heart of the sun. They're still kind of hanging out by the south node, so who knows what that's going to do. But just a Mercury cazimi, this is a day that is really great for Mercury things or Virgo things, okay? This is good for organizing, decluttering. It's great for doing anything mental, for learning something, reading something, communication, taking a class, whatever, anything that's engaging your mind is really good on this day. If you've got to have an important conversation with someone, this is a great time to do it. If you have been waiting on signing a contract, something like that, this is a good day to do it. We also, some of us might even just get really inspired, like get this really great idea. Yeah, I want to do that. That sounds really great. I feel so inspired. That could also be possible around this time. Also, like things having to do with like your daily routine, your daily work. How do you want to improve that? How do you want to improve your daily routine? This is a good day to focus on that. And again, with the Virgo, right, get rid of it. What do I not need? What is not essential? Great day to like clean your house, right? Clean your house or even do like a digital cleaning out. Like, what are all these old photos on my phone that I don't actually need? Let me delete them, free up some more space. Okay, then on the 14th, we have our quarter moon, okay, our moon in Gemini, sun in Virgo, Virgo and Gemini, very similar because they're both ruled by Mercury. So it's a lot of mental, again, like that mental energy just like really gets activated. This is a day where it might be hard to focus. You've got like a million thoughts going on. We could be more critical too around this time, critical of ourselves, critical of others, especially, right, if it's like family members, they might be really driving you crazy on this day because it's the moon. But again, too, I mean, this Gemini makes me think, oops, it could also be transportation. So, you know, make sure you've got enough gas in your car, or, you know, your tail lights are working, all of that kind of stuff around this quarter moon. And then on the 17th, we have, here we go. We have our Mercury in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces. Okay, and this energy can go one of two ways. For some people, you might feel like weighted down by mental work, by paperwork. Like there's so much to do, and I just feel like it's just so heavy. I've got to be responsible for so many things on this day. And I feel like I can't even get up because I'm so weighted down by all these tasks I have to get done. So that's one way this could go for some people. Just like a lot of things to get done on this day, and it feels like a lot. Also, too, could be some kind of serious conversation that we have to have with someone. Right? Like we've got to figure out, well, what's our budget for the rest of the year? Or, you know, have we finished, you know, working on our relationship? Like, what are those things we wanted to get clearer about? It's not an easy conversation, but we have to have it now. But it is good for, the good thing about this transit is it does give us some discipline. Even though we might not want to do all of this tedious work today, we will have the discipline to do it. We will have the ability to focus and get it done. Okay, so this is also a day, it's like, what have you been putting off? What's been that thing that you haven't been wanting to do that you've just got to sit down and do it? Yeah, this is actually a good day for that. Especially if it's if it's like tedious stuff, again, going into the Virgo, right? Things that have to be edited, things that have to be revised, refined, good for that. And then that's it for Mercury in Virgo, okay? Like I said, we just have 2 weeks of that energy. Then on the 18th, okay, Mercury is going to go into Libra. And no, it's not its home sign, but Mercury still does well in air, right? The air signs, because the air signs they are intellectual, they are social, they are about communication. Those are things that Mercury enjoys as well, okay? So Mercury in Libra is really good for obvious things of Libra, right? Negotiating, compromising, finding balance. Right? This is also a time where, yeah, conversations, communication, likely to go well. There's ease. This is also like communication that's like, it's fun, it's charming, it's effervescent, because that's Libra, right? Libra is such charming energy. So Mercury here, it's like, we're going to have these great conversations, these positive conversations, maybe literally conversations about what we find beautiful in life, right? About art, about, you know, our favorite kinds of, I don't know, restaurants or clothing, but like things that bring us joy, having conversations around that. But overall, yeah, it is good. It's really good social energy. So for anyone who maybe doesn't always like social situations, but maybe you have to be in some around this time, this is going to be good for you. This is going to help you to like have easy breezy conversations, okay? And especially too in relationships, right? Libra also rules relationships. So this is good for improving communication in partnerships, right? Whether that's romantic or it's a business partnership, you know, any one-on-one relationship, this is really good for your communication in those areas. Now, I would say literally, right, too, peace talks, right? Libra rules peace and fairness and justice. So Mercury here, good for peace talks. However, my however is because I don't think those are going to happen when we're still in eclipse season. Okay. In the middle of September, we're not going to have peace talks. We're probably not going to have peace talks. If we do have any, they will be around the first week of October. Okay. And we're going to have Mercury in Libra actually, okay, through October 7th. Okay. September 18th through October 7th. But I think if we're going to have peace talks at all, which hopefully we do, they're going to happen that first week of October. So we'll just have to see with them. Also, yeah, Mercury here also good for, again, signing contracts, right? Very, literal, but if you've got to sign a contract, do it when Mercury's in Libra. That's a nice time to do it. Okay, and then we're going to have on the 19th, okay, Venus. Okay, Venus is going to leave Leo and she's going to go into Virgo. So it's a very Virgo heavy month. So a lot of us might feel in general like there's just a lot to get done, right? Because that's Virgo. It's like we got a to-do list, we got stuff to do. For most of us, September's going to feel busy. It's just going to feel like there's a lot to get done. Okay, Venus going into Virgo, it's not her favorite sign. Okay, we technically call this her fall sign or her sign of detriment. Because it's opposite to Pisces, where she is what we call exalted. Okay, so in Virgo, she struggles a little bit because, right, Virgo is very, it's about the work, it's about getting it right, it's more practical. And Venus, right, she can tend to be a little more showy, right? But it's not terrible. There's still a lot of great things Venus can do in Virgo. One of those is acts of service, right? Also, that's very Virgo, and Venus and Virgo, that's a great combination. This is where it's so nice to do things for others, to do things for the people we care about, whatever that is to you. If it's picking up a bouquet of flowers, if it's helping with chores, if it's cooking a meal, if it's running errands for someone, whatever it is you want to do for someone else, this is such a nice time to do it. Or even, right, volunteer for something that you care about, work with animals. Virgo also rules pets, right? Our dogs and cats and bunnies and whatever other pets people have. It's a nice time to focus, yeah, on your pet relationships. Venus and Virgo, too, the only thing we need to be weary about is that criticism again, right? That Virgo, oh, it's not quite right. I've got to fix it. I've got to make it perfect. And that can get funneled towards our partners with Venus and Virgo. We can be more critical of the people around us. So we just want to be mindful of that, right? Like, oh, I really want to like make this adjustment and tell this person to do it this way. But, if they don't want to do it themselves, we can't really push them, right? Because they're not going to like being told to do something if they're not ready to do it. So just something, again, just to be mindful of. Okay, Venus in Virgo is also, okay, right when she goes into Virgo, the day after, she's going to make a square to Uranus in Gemini. Okay, again, that Virgo Gemini energy. We're getting so many squares of this. So pay attention to if you have anything around 1 degrees. Do you have anything in Virgo around 1 degree, or Gemini, or Pisces, or Sagittarius? Okay, the mutable signs. Do you have anything around 1 degrees? Because this day you'll want to be aware of that because you'll probably feel the effects the most strongly. So Venus square Uranus can usually be like some kind of change in a relationship, something that happens quickly too. It's like someone, you know, breaks up, your relationship breaks up out of nowhere. You're thinking everything's going fine, and then the other person is like, nope, I'm done, bye. Not very nice, but that's kind of a very Uranus-Venus square scenario, where something comes to an ending very quickly, or something in a relationship changes very quickly. And it could go the other way. It could be a sudden proposal or a bigger commitment in some way. But it's usually a big change. So not going to happen to all of us, but it is a possibility. Another thing that could happen around this time is financial, because Venus, right, too, also rules money and like material objects. So could be some kind of financial thing, a sudden financial, you know, loss or change, or you lose something, like you lose your favorite earrings. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but that is a possibility with Venus square Uranus. Could also just be strange people, okay? Because Venus can also represent people. Usually it's women. So yeah, even more specifically, you could have an encounter with like a woman who's just really strange, and like you can't figure out what she's trying to tell you or what she's talking about. And it could be an encounter that just makes you go, that was really weird. Yeah, also a Venus-Uranus thing. Okay, and now on this same day, September 20th, we're also having a Sun-Saturn opposition. Okay, Sun in Virgo opposing that Saturn in Pisces. So this is different energy, but it could also get swirled up in this Venus-Uranus thing. But this is more about feeling less expressive, feeling a little more cautious, feeling a little more to ourselves, taking ourselves more seriously. It's not really like, this is not a party transit. This isn't a transit where we're going to feel like, yeah, I want to go out and meet a bunch of new people today. No, this is like, I just want to stay home and kind of mind my own business and do my own thing. It's very serious energy. So yeah, if you feel like just staying home on this day, that could be why this, yeah, Saturn Sun. Okay, and now we're going to get to our second eclipse, okay? Eclipse number 2, which is going to be exact at, actually, I'm just going to do this. Almost there. At 12:54, and this is going to be this is Pacific time. So 12:54 is the exact moment we have this eclipse, and it actually, again, this one will not be visible. We're not going to see it in North America. It's going to be visible, yeah, in parts of Australia and at Antarctica. So not very many people will see it. It is a partial eclipse, not a total eclipse, but still the moon will literally cover up a part of the sun. Okay, so again, that's why this is such intense energy. We're darkening out the sun. We're blocking the energy of the sun, or the moon is blocking the energy of the sun. Okay, so I always think of it as like the reset button, right? Like we're shutting off the energy for a few minutes, and then it's going to boot up again when the sun passes. So this is our Virgo eclipse, right? The first one was Pisces. Now we're going across the way to Virgo. Sun and the moon syncing up at 29 degrees. Okay, and if you read the mailing that went out, I talk about the 29th degree, and some of you have heard me talk about the 29th degree. It is a very potent degree, okay? It's known as a crisis point, okay? Because it's that final moment of the sign before switching to a brand new sign. So it's like that Virgo energy, like really wants to hang on before it switches to Libra. So it's very potent. It usually brings us situations where it's like, it's now or never, right? It's like that critical point. You can't put it off any longer. You've got to make the decision. You're going to be pushed. Okay, so yeah, there is an intensity here, and it's eclipse too, and it's an eclipse. So that's intense in itself. So this day, yeah, going to feel like a lot of energy. It's going to feel intense. The energy is going to feel heavy. It's going to feel like a lot. So just be prepared for that. And as well, if you have degrees, right? Especially again, Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Gemini, around 29 degrees. But also, because we're 29 degrees, we're also really close to 0 Libra. So my cardinal signs around 0 degrees of Libra, Aries, okay, Cancer and Capricorn, you're also going to feel this eclipse. Okay, now let's talk about solar eclipses, okay, because they're different than lunar eclipses. Solar eclipses are not about endings, okay? They are about new beginnings, okay? This is a fresh start. This is where something is going to start growing in my life. Okay, so also, where is 29 degrees Virgo in your chart? What house is that in? Because that's likely where something new is going to start. You're starting a new journey having to do with whatever that house is. But what's kind of interesting is, yes, new beginnings, but at the same time, I sound like a broken record, but Virgo is also about decluttering, getting rid of. So it could be there's something you're going to have to let go of to have your new chapter start. Okay, Virgo might ask you, yeah, we really want to start this thing, but this thing has got to go. Is that okay? We've got to get rid of this thing in order for the new thing to start. Okay, that's kind of the bargaining system, right? So right, collectively, Virgo, yeah, let's talk about Virgo keywords, okay? Getting incredibly literal, right? Harvest, things I've already said, harvest, produce, purity, health, illness, pets, service, or literally even like servants, people who do serve, right? Connected to Virgo. Our digestion, okay? Virgo also rules the digestive system. Nutrition, work, right? Like the daily work we do, routine, all of those things. So these are things I'm going to be seeing if they pop up, right, in the news or even personally in my life. Yeah, but work is the most obvious. And for some of you, you might be feeling like, yeah, I want to either start my own business, or I want to be applying for a different job, or I want to ask for a promotion, or I want to put more time into my little, side business. This is a time where a lot of people are actually probably going to feel that way, where there's going to be so much attention on what am I doing every day? And do I feel good about the work I'm doing every day? And some of us are going to go, yeah, I want to make some changes. I want to feel more fulfilled with the work that I'm doing every day. And some people are going to be like, yeah, I like the work I'm doing, and I want to do more of it. So I'm going to actually look for other opportunities to be doing this work because I enjoy it. And then again, just remember those self-care things around eclipses, right? Make sure, because especially sleep. Sleep can easily get disrupted around eclipses. And again, some of you even this week might be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I haven't been able to sleep the last 2 nights. I don't know why. Yeah, eclipse energy. So again, just be mindful of making sure you're resting, taking time you need for yourself, okay, to prioritize your own health, right? Physical, mental, emotional. Any questions? Oh, oops, sorry, nope. I also want to pull in some historical references. I almost forgot because I went back a few cycles of this same eclipse because we have these same eclipses, okay, every 18, 19 years. Eclipses repeat themselves, okay? So the last time we had this 29 degrees Virgo eclipse was in 2008. The time before that, it was 1989, okay? And I kind of looked at, are there any patterns? Any patterns that stand out around those times? And we do have one pretty strong one, financial, okay? Both 1989 and 2008, we had financial crashes, okay? So it is possible this month. It is possible there could be some issue with the banks, some bubble bursts, stock market drops, that is possible. Hopefully it's not that, but if we're looking at themes and now why would Virgo have to do with financial? That is a little, interesting. I mean, Virgo is an earth sign. So yeah, all earth signs are connected to the material world. So it could have to do with that. So that's one. Another possibility is right? And we have a lot of geopolitical stuff going on. There could be one of those geopolitical things or multiple geopolitical things could reach like an escalation. Okay. So Ukraine, Russia, I don't know, could be something where NATO does have to come in, or, Israel, Palestine, something gets escalated there. But there are themes around this Virgo eclipse of geopolitical changes or escalations. Hoping it's not that, but historically is a possibility. And also climate and environment, right? Hurricane Katrina was around. It wasn't exactly this eclipse, but it was with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces. So we could have some kind of huge natural disaster situation. Again, hoping, and it's none of these things, but it is possible. Could also be some kind of technology, I guess kind of like technology terrorism, like a cyber attack, something like that. Okay, now do we have any questions on this eclipse? And again, yeah, what house? I think I already said that, but what house is 29 degrees Virgo? Okay. What do I have to first purge, Virgo? Like, what do I have to get rid of? And then where's the new thing? Then that's where something new could happen. Okay. And yes, we are going to be going a little bit over today. So if for some reason it's 11:01, if anyone has to go, this is being recorded. You can watch it later, but if you want to stay, obviously, please stay. So then we have the 21st, actually, the 22nd. And we have a lot happening on the 22nd. It is, for one, it is the autumn equinox, right? Mabon, which is where we celebrate the halfway point, okay, to the winter solstice. Okay, it's the halfway point between summer solstice and winter solstice. This is a day to celebrate balance, okay, because it's day is equal to night. Okay, that's what this period marks. And it's a time to honor balance in our life, to also just appreciate the harvest season, the abundance in our lives. Okay, it's just a nice time to pause and kind of, yeah, appreciate what's around us. And also, yes, it's the start of Libra season, which is perfect, right? Because Libra is also about balance. So it's when the sun goes into Libra. So again, we're really focusing on balance, right? And I actually, like to think of it as when our life is fully balanced, right? It means we're incorporating all of the four elements, right? So like we're incorporating fire, which is like our creativity, how we, do things, how we stay active. We're incorporating earth, right? Which is like the material world, the job we do, how we make money, how we take care of ourselves. What are our resources? We incorporate air, right? Which is social engagement, community, mental interests. And we incorporate water, right? Which is our emotional life, honoring our feelings and our emotional selves. So ultimate balance is when all of those elements are filled in our lives. So Libra season is a good time to just check in, like, yeah, am I incorporating all the elements in my life? Do I have, am I making time for my friendships? Am I getting my work done? Am I building the life that I want? Am I letting my emotions flow freely? Am I making time for activity and creative pursuits? Okay, Libra season 2, also partnerships, right? A good time to like assess our partnerships, whether we're in partnerships, how are they going? How can I make them better? Do they feel balanced? Or even your relationship to yourself, right? That's also something we can look at around this time. And if you're not in a relationship, like let's say you want to call in a romantic relationship, this is a good time to focus on that, right? Libra. And also, too, we might be looking at, fairness as well, the concept of fairness. Am I being fair? Are people being fair to me? Is there something that I don't think is fair that I can actually maybe help people with? And again, too, right, the theme of justice, right, with Libra. So collectively, curious too, like maybe it's Libra season. We're going to see more, right, of these Epstein survivors. Maybe we're going to see some movement there, which would be good. Okay, and you will also see on this day that we have Mars going into Scorpio. Okay, Mars will be in Scorpio. Let's see, for how long? Mars in Scorpio through November 5th. Okay, so about a month and a half. Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is about doing all the things you want to do, working on your goals, putting all you have into them, but not telling people, right? Scorpio is secretive. It's like, this isn't the time where we're going to tell everyone our plans. We're just going to work on them quietly and diligently. But we don't have to be telling people what we're working on. Okay, Scorpio is a time for like keeping it to yourself. That's when it's going to be more powerful. Okay, and then once we get into, November, all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh my gosh, you didn't tell me you were working on this thing. You're like, I know, isn't it great? I just spent a lot of time focusing on it and I didn't have distractions, so I was able to get it done. Yeah, Mars in Scorpio, it's very ambitious energy. It's very powerful energy. So it's like, what's really important that I want to be putting my energy into right now, right? Mars also, right? Energy. And also, it's really good for transformation, Mars and Scorpio. What do you want to transform in your life? You know, whether that's your appearance, you know, could literally be your appearance. Maybe you want to make some changes. Maybe you're going to start lifting more weights because you want to sculpt out those arms, right? That's very Mars and Scorpio, making that a physical transformation. Or you just want to approach things differently in life. Okay, Mars and Scorpio is really good. It's good for making changes, honestly, and permanent changes. It's like, this is the new version of me. I'm ready to like make that change. It's also, right, very strategic. Okay, Mars and Scorpio, very strategic, very good at like assessing the situation, looking at the big picture, and finding the most efficient way to accomplish the goal. The only, right, shadow side, Mars and Scorpio, some of us might feel, right, like a little more annoyed, or if someone, you know, makes us upset, we might kind of feel like holding on to that anger, right? It's kind of can be vengeful, right? So just remember, okay, it's Mars and Scorpio. I know I want to hold on to this, but I'm gonna let it go. I don't have to get revenge on everyone who does me wrong, because it's their problem, not mine. But that Mars and Scorpio might make you feel that way. So just, yeah, what to be mindful of. And then we're getting into this grand trine, okay? And actually, we also had it earlier with Mercury in Libra. I actually kind of skimmed over that part. But when Mercury first goes into Libra, it's going to make a trine, okay, to Mercury and Uranus. So that's around the 18th, right? September 18th. Mercury, Pluto, and Uranus all teaming up together, making all of their energy really potent. So that day, September 18th, yeah, really good for mental pursuits, for conversations, even like healing conversations, or you might talk to someone who says something that just really resonates with you and inspires you to make some changes or inspires you to do something differently. Okay, then around the 23rd, the sun is going to make that grand trine with Pluto and with Uranus. So, I mean, again, it's air, right? So this energy, it's very social, it's very engaging, it's very intellectual, and it's very communication heavy. So I would pay attention to, yeah, conversations you have around this time, because they could be incredibly profound. They could lead you to something important. But also this day, because it's the sun is involved, right? Ego, we might just feel really confident, like we can take on anything on this day. Like our mind is just functioning. We've got a lot of clarity around this time. Also, the Uranus kind of gives us like some curiosity, or like, I want to try something new. I want to try something different. We're a little more adventurous around this time. This is a great time to like do that class you've always wanted to do, or go on that hike you've always wanted to go. Like, do that thing that you want to do, but you've been putting it off. Have that experience around this time. Okay, September 23rd. And then also we do have excuse me, Saturn, Neptune. Okay, Neptune is also a little bit involved here with this, with the opposition. And you will see this makes what we call a kite. This whole formation is actually the kite, with the trine in air and then Neptune sitting here at the top. You can literally see this kite formation, okay? So this Neptune at the top, though, is giving us some, like, our imagination is very inspired. We're more sensitive. We're more likely to notice like things between the lines, right? Again, Neptune, similar to Pisces, it's about symbols, symbolism, like what's being said that's not being said. It's very spiritual energy, honestly. And this day too, because we've got the social energy and then the Neptune, like this would be great to like, yeah, go to a yoga class or go to a group meditation, but something spiritual in community. Or also just a great day to be helping your community in some way. That compassion of Neptune. This is a great day to volunteer somewhere and be interacting with other people for a cause that you all care about. Okay. Then on the 24th, the 24th, okay, we have our Mars in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius. Okay. Yeah, another square. We don't have a ton of them this month, but the ones that we do have, yeah, they're pretty intense. Okay. Mars and Pluto, both very intense, aggressive planets, right? Pluto kind of, yeah, being the higher octave of Mars in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of intensity with these two planets. This is a lot about power, struggles for power, conflicts around power. I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. Right? And yeah, it can be, volatile. Mars and Pluto, a square where they're not getting along, volatile. And it's Scorpio, so there's, right, again, the intensity. There can be, right, that vengeful quality that's kind of pulled out. And then the Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius, this is going to bring out the detachment of Aquarius. I don't care. You're dead to me. Like, I don't have any emotion about the situation. That kind of being pulled out. So, yeah, in our personal lives, don't engage in any unnecessary conflict on this day. That's what I would do. If someone tries to pull you into an argument or something, just peace out. Okay. Just say no, thank you, and not engaging. Because this is a day where we are more likely to get sucked in, okay, to some kind of confrontation. So it's best to just avoid that confrontation if you can. But yeah, collectively or globally, could see something having to do with war, with a big accident or an attack of some kind. Hopefully not. But yeah, with Pluto and Mars, right, that is possible. A death of something. Scorpio and Pluto too, right, associated with death. And with that, we are almost done. Okay, then all we have then on the 29th, okay, we're having another quarter moon. This is our second quarter moon, Capricorn moon, and sun in Libra, okay, making a square. So this is really just comes down to, right, like getting the work done. The Capricorn part is like, I've got all this to do. I've got to stay at the office, or I can't do anything fun until the work is done. My responsibilities come first. My obligations come first, especially like family obligations or family related responsibilities, right? Moon in Capricorn. And the sun in Libra, though, is like, but let's just go have fun. Let's go have a really nice, like, long, relaxing dinner, or let's blow off half the day and go to an art museum, right? Libra wants to just like go do something fun and nice and pleasurable. So it's kind of what's the balance between those two things today? We could have a relationship conflict with the with the Libra here. Could be something, maybe it's, your spouse or whoever you live with, because it's the moon. Maybe there's a disagreement about something in the house, something that needs to be done, a chore that needs to be done, something like that. But nothing too serious. This is not a transit that's gonna be a make or break situation. But yeah, I mean, to work with both of these, yeah, get your work done, make time to get your work done, and then, you know, plan something for later in the day that's nice. Even if you just get to be at home and read your favorite book for an hour or, you know, whatever it is. But do something Libra, something pleasurable, something joyful, if you can. Whew, okay.